Hey guys, welcome to Tommy Green TV, bringing you the latest in Arsenal footballing news and update. You know the drill, you've landed on the channel, like, share, comment, most importantly, subscribe to my channel. Just going to do a quick roundup of, the transfer window, what's happened in the transfer window, what we think of our top four chances in the league this season. Do we think we can, more or less make the top four, or do we think that that's gone, done, dusted, because we signed literally no one? Big news, of course, Aubameyang leaving. Was it right to let him go? Was it right to not bring in a replacement? Could we have done differently? These are all things that I would want your input. Basically, because at the end of the day, really and truly, we've got 17 games left this season to play. We're out of the cups, the Carabao Cup. We're out of the FA Cup. We're not in Europe, and the likelihood of any extra games being played would be those ones that we've missed. Our games in hand that are congested, but I'm one of the few Arsenal supporters who think that it was a good idea not to buy a centre forward, because after we missed out on Vlasic, I wanted him as a plan A. Like many Arsenal fans, we want him as a plan A. But then when you start to look at, your top three, if you were to do, like a top three list of who we need to get, what we need to buy. When we start doing that and we look properly and we think to ourselves, okay, we need to buy X, Y, and Z players, and we amount the cost versus the productivity of what we're going to get, it just didn't match. So, like I said, I'm one of the few Arsenal fans who I'm thinking logically rather than, kind of desperately. If you must say, I just think spending 75 million on a player who will not probably, or who might not hit the league running. The last player that we spent such big money on was Aubameyang, and as soon as he came in, he hit the ground running. But he has already been doing it prior to coming here, and buying a 50-60 million pound player who we just don't know logically if they will hit the ground running. Remember, this is a young team, so you're adding another young player to the squad. It's not necessarily a player who's, established per se. Vlasic was a player who I think he's had just 2 good seasons. And in those 2 good seasons, he's done really well. There were other alternatives. We could have gone on the loan route. We could have gone to maybe Real Madrid and looked for a Jovic, or someone or something. Maybe on loan, basically. But realistically, who wants to come to Arsenal at this moment in time? Vlasic didn't want to go. And then if you're looking at your plan Bs, like your Calvert-Lewins, your any other strikers, your Isak. I don't particularly think they're worth 50-60 million. So we'll definitely be paying an inflation fee for them to come down here, and then you just don't know how long it will take them to adapt to the league. And we also have to remember, the one key thing that we're not remembering here is that they're young. They're 21, they're 22, so that's another young mix to the core of the group. Rather than looking inwards and looking and saying, okay, what can we do here? Maybe we have to be creative with what we've got. It's not like we don't have players. At the end of the day, we've got Martinelli, who can play down the middle. We've got Lacazette. Of course, he's not scoring goals, and it hasn't been a theme of him to be scoring goals. And then you look at, even Pepe. Pepe can play down the middle if we really were that desperate. There are options that can play up front. I don't want to say Eddie Nketiah, but we haven't really given him a fair shake. And to be fair, he hasn't proven that his level is, at Arsenal in the Premier League. Against smaller teams, he seems to score. He seems to be able to, tap it and do. He just seems like the poacher. and the way we play obviously doesn't suit his strength, but he will score goals given the chance. You just look, there are ways we can play around with what we have rather than spending 70 million for literally 17 games. Is what most Arsenal fans don't realize. It is 17 games that we have left. We're crying out for a midfielder. I understand that as well. I was one of the Arsenal fans who were really pissed that we let that guy Guimaraes go to Newcastle. I thought that was absolutely a shambles. He was a quality player. He's an upgrade. I thought he would play well with Thomas Partey, because the idea of Arteta wanting to put Partey at the base of a midfield 2, or depending on what it is, I don't think it works personally. But if we had him, maybe then they might complement each other. One thing we do know is we need definitely kind of a midfield destroyer. Partey's injury record is not that great. And you don't know what Partey you're getting. You're getting an on and off the ball Partey. So we definitely need about 2 central midfielder, a box to box who can go up and down the whole pitch, win the ball back, makes a couple of opportunities, score goals, do the business up, and also do the business at the back. And I thought we also need kind of like a deep upgrade to Xhaka, basically, better version of Xhaka. We definitely need that, but we don't have that at the moment, and that is a big problem when you look at our midfield option. Got El Neni, who's out of contract as well. We've got Xhaka and Partey, and then Lokonga. For 17 games, I guess you can understand the thinking that why do we need to add when we can just wait till the summer? And but the problem now is, are these players good enough to take us to the top 4? And that goes on to the next part of this. Are we going to make the top 4? Do we think we're going to make the top 4? I don't think Tottenham will make the top 4, because I don't think their players are yes, they have a world-class manager in Conte. I just don't think they'll make the top 4. Not but because they're still missing components and they're still trying to adjust to his methods. And I think those will take him into the next season. So I don't think particularly this season we'll be able to get into the top 4. And then you look at West Ham, they don't have this, depth in their squad. They're still in Europe, so it is going to wear down on them at some point. It takes 1 or 2 of their players to come out of the side. If a Declan Rice got injured, or Antonio or something, and that's it for them. They are in a situation where they are struggling realistically. And then you look at Man United, Ragnick as well. I mean, the key factor there is, you've got star players who have won things, who have won World Cups, Premierships. I say World Cup Premierships, but there are literally only 2 players in the squad who've done that. But hey ho, but they've won things, and they've got a manager who knows what he wants out of them. They're not playing well, but they're getting 3 points. It's only a matter of time before they start dancing to the tune that the manager is playing, and once that happens, they might be able to push for top 4. And then you look even in the top 4, like Chelsea, they're not doing really well. They're kind of blowing hot enough at the moment, and they are not particularly saying, okay, look, we're 3rd. And then you've got us, who we've got hungry young players who, when our first 11 are fit, we can probably give a go to making sure we hit the top 4. But do we have enough to be able to sustain? And we've seen in the last couple of weeks, the whole of January, how we've just capitulated. And I'm hoping that coming back, going to play Wolves, we've got to play Wolves twice, and that's another one that I didn't mention. Wolves, we've got to play Wolves as well. So it's kind of a gamble with what we did. Out of the 4 or 5 teams that are competing for the top 4, we're the one gambling. Ourselves and West Ham, I would say, are gambling. The rest are putting procedures in place to make sure that, okay, look, they try at least to challenge for the top 4. You see Tottenham, who are, they've bought 2-3 new players, and they've started to get rid of the deadwoods out, in their squad. Manchester United, their squad is bloated enough with enough players to make such a big impact. Chelsea, you already know, they're Champions League winners from the last season, then the Carabao Cup final. So ourselves and West Ham's, we're quite light in that sense that, okay, we're making a big impact into the top 4. And that's where my problem and my issue is. Even though we only have 17 games left of this season, more or less, we're playing once every almost 2 weeks. So did we really need to go and buy another midfielder now when we really think about it? Possibly we can wait if we can get the tunes out of these lads. And that's where my query is. Can we do that? Can we produce? If we were to rate the transfer window, I would like to give us a good, if I were giving it A to F, a good C plus. C plus in the sense that we've got rid of a lot. We've freed a lot in the wage bill. You start from Aubameyang, who's out. It is a shame that we've had to see him go. But he has left for both the better and for the worse. He wasn't producing since it's been almost 18 months since he signed his last contract, and he hasn't produced. There's always a reason or excuse or a method, or there's always something as to why he's not producing. And even when he wasn't producing, he still managed to bang in some average stats. I looked, last season he scored 14 goals, in the Premier League, and this season he scored 7 or something like that. So he still score goals, just not consistently. It can be maybe 2 here, and then you don't get a batch, and then but he still produced something here and there sparingly. But his behavior, his attitude, his professionalism, we haven't really seen the best of it from what we know from the outside. We don't know what's happening in the inside. That Amazon Prime documentary will be good to see what exactly is happening behind the dressing room and how we've handled what's happened behind the dressing room. So that would be a very good documentary. Guys, watch it out. Wait for it at the end of the season. It would reveal a lot in that sense. So let's wait to see what that is in that regards. But yeah, we've got a lot rid of Kolasinac. There's still players here from Wenger's era. Holden, who I don't think should be there. We've got rid of who else did we get? Chambers, some of the young graduates. We're freeing up room. We're freeing up spaces. We've got rid of obviously on loan Maitland-Niles. So there's spaces in there for next season to say, okay, look, Saliba's coming back, so he'll be there with Chambers. With Holden. Mari's also out on loan as well. So there's space. There's a lot of deadwood that need to go out. Holden, Cedric Suarez, El Neni, Lacazette, Edin Ketia. These are players that will have to leave the club, and will leave the club. But we need them now, per se. They haven't taken us into the top 4 in the last 2-3 years, so I doubt they will be able to do that. Like I said, it is a gamble. But at the end of the day, I would give this transfer window a C+. Mikel Arterta, he's going to live and die by his decision as the manager. And rightly so, because that is your job as the manager. If you do well, we will all praise you. And if you don't do well, we will be the first ones at the end of the day at the door with pitchforks to say you haven't done well. Rightly so. There is no escaping it. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts on what you think of the transfer window. Do you think we can still make the top 4? Is that still achievable? Has Mikel Arteta left himself short? Are you happy with Aubameyang leaving? And yeah, till the next time. Let's get it.